Call the meeting to order and note that Chairman Statchin is excused for this evening, so I will run the meeting as the chair. Bruce, can you call the roll, please?
Right. Ned Stachin, Richard Berlandi,
Here.
David Fox,
Here.
Robert Eisner,
Here.
Neil Kelsey,
Present.
Mark Simpson,
Here.
and Andre Simons,
Present.
Jay Tulin, and George Santos.
Thank you,
All
Bruce.
right, Chair.
Yep, move on to new business, Town of Farmington. First application.
All right. My name is Justin Stone. I'm one of the civil engineers here for the town of Farmington. Um, the first item on here is there's the covered concrete pads for the sawmill over at 8750 Roma Drive. It's a town-owned property where we would like to be able to store the sawmill that we currently own, so that way we can make like fence posts, and other other lumber items that we may need. This will also include a millings kind of driveway area to go back and forth between the existing driveway and the covered concrete pad. And then there will be the removal of 2 eastern hemlock trees. I think we already had the meet. This was what, on the 19th we had the meet. Okay, yeah. So I presented this on the 19th. Yeah, it's pretty much it.
Okay. Thanks, Justin. And last month we did determine that it was a non-significant regulated activity. I'll quickly go around just to check to see if there's any additional questions or comments from the commissioners. Commissioner Berlandi?
No comments or questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Fox?
No questions.
Commissioner Kelsey?
Nothing further.
Commissioner Simons?
No comments or questions.
Commissioner Simpson?
No questions.
Okay, and I have no additional questions or comments. With that, it would be appropriate to entertain a motion likely to approve, given that there are no concerns expressed, and conditions could be that the town staff coordinate to ensure that the standards for this commission are met. Is there a motion to that effect?
So
Move, Mark.
Who was the other?
Mark had the motion.
second, Andre.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And I'm pausing. Bruce, do we have how many full members? Is there anyone that needs to be seated or someone else?
No, we don't have any alternates present. So
Okay, good. So the
right.
motion carries 6-0.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, now we will have item number 2 from the town of Farmington, the Meadow Road projects.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Shannon Rutherford, the town planner for Farmington. I'll be presenting this project for you this evening. This is located at 8484 Meadow Road. This is the Culp Community Garden area in the flats.
Mhm.
And if you want to just go back to the presentation, please. Gotcha. So this is, you can see the access drive as Bruce is pointing on the screen, and the parking area. The area where the swale is out to the river is about 200 feet west of the parking area and that access drive. This area is within the floodway of the Farmington River, obviously, given the proximity to the Farmington, and it provides access not only to the Culp Community Gardens, but also the other fields within the area and the walking path that runs along. I'm going to call it north for sake of argument here and convenience, but the north edge of the farm fields right adjacent to the river. So as you're looking for the next slide, when you look at the comparison between the swale in 2022 and then the swale in 2024, you can see that there's a notable change to this swale as it provides drainage from the fields north out to the Farmington River. So the swale now, based on our field measurements from earlier this year, it varies in width from approximately 4 feet wide to 6 feet wide. And the depth is fairly consistent of about 4 feet in depth. But you can notice how it has started to really more erode on the east and west banks. And it's pushing south into the travel path that again is not only used for pedestrians, but also used for farm vehicles accessing the community plots as well as the other fields in the area. The swale drains approximately 1.8 acres of area and field area. And I noted already the swale's working south into the travel way. At this point, we'll go through some of the photos that were shared with you as part of the application. So this is standing on that trail, looking north towards the river. So you can see how that has cut in. And it's starting to provide a hazard not only for pedestrians, but for the vehicles that need to access through there. You can go ahead and scroll through. Thank you. So this is just looking down into the swale. This is looking north again. North more direct down in, so you can see some of the bank and see it's very sandy material that's easily eroded. This is down. I'm standing in the swale looking out into the river at this point. This is not me at full height. I'm looking down in. The banks vary. The bank height varies from 4 to 6 feet at this point, and I probably have about 10 to 15 feet of swale behind me and about 20 feet, 25 feet of swale in front of me. This is more close to the outlet. Go ahead. And then this is looking back. I basically, from that last picture, just turned 180 degrees and looked back up. And this is looking towards the field. So clearly these are just some of our field notes that we took, some of the field measurements. So how are we going to solve this? We are proposing to install gabion baskets to stabilize the swale. The baskets will be towed in 1 foot into the bottom of the swale. It's going to extend approximately 30 feet north from the trail edge where the swale starts. It'll extend north. The total length of the swale is approximately 40 to 45 feet. So we will not be in the river. We will not be in the ordinary high water. This work can be done very easily in the dry. As you can see, I was standing in the swale and it was dry. So the stabilization, the gabion stabilization will be 2 baskets deep. There'll be a bottom row and then a smaller top row so that we can start to step this down at the road edge. The gabion baskets will be even elevation with the road edge, so there's not a tripping hazard there. They will also be two baskets wide, so this whole profile that you're seeing here is going to be 2 wide, so it ends up being 6 feet wide, and as you can see in this profile view, it's 5 feet in height, the 1 foot that's buried, and then 4 foot 4 foot above the swale elevation. For those that perhaps aren't familiar, gabions are a welded wire basket, and we can show you pictures later. But it's a welded wire basket that is filled with stone, and so they are set and they're set in place empty. Then they are filled with stone. They are wired shut and they are wired together. This will help so that they will act as a unit and a mass. With the welded wire fabric and the stone, the water is allowed to flow through. So as the water elevation rises and falls, it's not going to impede any flow. But the outside perimeter of the baskets will be wrapped in a filter fabric. So as we have floodwaters that rise up and then recede, the filter fabric will hold the soil in place rather than pulling the soil through into the baskets. So the intent is that this will stabilize this channel while still allowing the water to flow and still act as a low point and allow the drainage through off of the farm fields. We evaluated and discussed a number of options in the office. Clearly, given the force and velocity of the Farmington River, simply placing riprap in that swale is not going to work very well. That will be dislodged in a heavy storm and it'll be washed out. We've had that experience in other locations, so it clearly this is something that requires a little different thought with us. This was reviewed with Russ Arnold, our Director of Public Works. It was also reviewed with Jim Rusbase and our Highway and Superintendent. Both have reviewed the design, understand the problem. The problem actually was brought to us from Russ and Jim. We brainstormed possible solutions, and this is what we've come up with. It's constructible. It's constructible from that access driveway. No work needs to take place in the river. And we believe it's a reasonable solution to the problem. If we get multiple 100-year storms, is there still going to be some work and repair to do? Most likely, sure. But I think for the majority of the storms we're seeing and the high intense flashy storms that we're seeing, we're anticipating this to be able to withstand those flows. You will note in the narrative that was provided in the supplemental information that Bruce included with your application package, the permitting request is for the commission to consider the agricultural exemption for this work. And that this be permitted as of right under section 4A1 of your regulations. And we included what was up on the screen is the Connecticut DEP information sheet regarding this exemption. And this was basically a white paper on this agricultural exemption because it required further clarification across the state. So we believe this falls under the maintenance of ditches used exclusively for farming purposes. As I noted, this is the drainage swale that drains approximately 1.8 acres. And the primary function of this swale or ditch is to outlet the water from the fields to the river after storms to avoid frequent and prolonged inundation, which would result in the loss of crops. If the crops are inundated for an extensive period of time, the farmers by regulation have to plow them under. They can't just let things dry out and continue to grow. If they've been inundated for an extensive period, then they have to be plowed under. So these swales provide important relief, but also it needs to be done safely so the vehicles can continue to use that north travel road. The commission has processed an agricultural exemption before. In May 2016, the Jilly Beans farm stand was processed using the agricultural exemption. You'll recall Jilly Beans farm stand is located at 172 Scott Swamp Road. So with that, unless if you want, we have in a separate file folder what gabion baskets look like in a variety of different implementations. But aside from that, that concludes the information I have to share regarding this application. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, Jaden. Thanks for the overview. And I would agree that this meets the criteria for the agricultural exemption. That's all that area is on. Obviously, there's the recreational trail on the outside, but I do see this as largely a maintenance activity that will have an environmental benefit by stopping the ongoing erosion and servicing the agricultural fields. So that would be my perspective. I'll go around and I'm going to flip the order. So Mark, I'll start with you to see if you have any questions or comments.
No, I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay. Andre?
I don't really have any questions, but a curiosity question, I guess. When would the next time you would expect to go in and either maintain or fix up the area after you've installed the bathrooms?
There's no way for me to really know definitively. It's something that would be monitored, so I plan on being there when the highway department, we're gonna self-install this with the highway department, so I plan on being there while it's being installed. And we're going to continue to monitor to see how this works. Again, this is something, if you're familiar with the trails, there's quite a few of these. And it's something that we fight on a regular basis, so this was our next best solution and thought on this, so we'll monitor it. Part of it's going to depend on the size and magnitude of the storm that comes through, and we'll continue to monitor it.
Okay, thank you. I have no other questions.
Yeah, and Andre, these are pretty commonly used construction features, and they do have high durability and long duration. So it's, my understanding is they require infrequent maintenance once they're installed. They're pretty sturdy. Okay, so I'll move on to Neil. Any questions or comments? Neil, you might be on mute.
Thank you. Yeah, I do have just a couple questions. Are there other swales along those fields that serve a similar purpose? And if so, what condition are those in?
Yes, and there's another one further to the west that we reviewed with Jim Basin that we want to start. This is the one that is in the most serious condition, if you will. So we wanted to start with this one, see how the install goes, monitor it perhaps for this summer and see how it withstands the storms. Make sure that there isn't any additional edge erosion or something that we need to change or modify, and then replicate this further down. So the intent would be to use this at other locations. I said there's another swale, or perhaps another roughly 300 feet to the west, 400 feet to the west. There's a couple of these to provide the water outlet relief for the fields. So it likely, if it works well, which we're hoping that it does, then this will be replicated for others.
Okay. And I'm not familiar with the agricultural piece of this or the exemption. Can you explain what that gets you? Does that just allow you to start this work sooner, or what is the benefit of that exemption to you?
Sure, it's similar to the exemption that you folks use for permitted as of right for someone doing work in their backyard.
Mhm.
I'm not sure, I'm trying to remember when else you use that, but it's the same section of the regulation that, so under the permitted as of right section of your regulation, section 4A, I'm using section 4A1 specifically for farming. But 4A4 is the one that you folks use when you discuss uses incidental to the enjoyment and maintenance of residential property.
Mhm.
So when you're discussing pools and sheds or something that isn't an area that's already disturbed. So there's 7 permitted as of right options under that section, and then there's non-regulated. There's 3 non-regulated activities that are permitted within your regulation. So what this does is that, again, it's that it's permitted as of right. The application's processed in 1 meeting rather than 2. Even though we're doing work within clearly 150 feet of a water body with the Farmington
Mhm.
River, that it would not be considered a regulated activity and officially need a permit with your commission or even even warrant a public hearing because of the nature of the work that's being done. And that's
Okay.
part of the state, so the regulation replicates what's in the state statute. And again, this document that was provided is basically a white paper that Connecticut DEP prepared to provide a broader understanding of what is and is not included with this farming exemption.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. The last question is, since it's likely that there are other swales which will need similar work, would those require an application if we grant this exemption tonight, or would this be, are we setting ourselves up to not see
No,
future
sir.
work down the road? Okay,
No, sir. If this works well and we want to do this again at another location, what we may do is if there's more than one, we may batch them together and
Mhm.
say, we're gonna, here's whatever, 2, 3, 4 of them and do them at once and show them and still present them to the commission. The commission retains the right to determine whether or not an activity is permitted as a right. So this is just for this one location. And if and when we're ready to look at the other locations, those would be brought before the commission.
okay, all right, thank you. And thanks for
You-
indulging me in that.
Of course,
Okay, nothing further.
Commissioner, keeping in mind that each one of these is approved as we discussed, needs
Right.
to be approved by the commission, voted on
Yeah.
or approved by the commission as yes, it is whether it's exempt or not. Okay.
Yeah, and I just wanted to make sure of that and get it on the record, so I appreciate that.
absolutely.
And just as, a few months ago when we had the recreational exemptions for the golf courses, we determined that some of the activity was exempt, but the major removal of the culvert was not within the exemption. So we do have the ability to review and sort of break the project apart. So I appreciate the question and appreciate the informative answers from the staff. Thank you. So we'll move on to Commissioner Dave Fox. Dave?
I have no questions and I agree that it's eligible for the exemption.
Thank you. Rich?
I had a question on, could you bring up that Gabion cross section that you had before? Is that going to be like fill in the swale, or is it going
Yes.
to line the two sides?
No, it's gonna fill in the swale. So it's a little
Okay, so-
different. It's a little different, Rich, than I looked all over to try to so without cutting the side slopes back to then line the swale, there wasn't a good way to do this, and I didn't want to get into cutting that back and widening it further. So we're gonna cut in a 6-foot width and get these snug in tight on each embankment and work with it that way initially. Which is a little different because it's not, I couldn't find a direct application. So you can line the embankments, you can line the swale, you can use them as a retaining wall. The Gabion baskets are very versatile. This is a little different application, so that's another reason why we want to get it installed and observe it for at least one season before we start to replicate it elsewhere. But you're correct that it's gonna fill that full width and then step down. So that's also why we thought the Gabions were a good option, because it allows the water to still flow through.
No, that makes a lot of sense, because the stone in the Gabion baskets will actually dissipate the energy from going down from the upper elevation to the lower elevation,
Right.
so, and contain it so it doesn't get washed away. I agree that this meets the agricultural exemption, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Rich. Shannon, I have a question. Are there any other regulatory jurisdictions? It's on the bank of the river, it's not in the river, so the Army Corps does not have jurisdiction, correct?
Correct, yes, so we're outside that ordinary high water, so there's no other jurisdictional. Yep, we made sure that was one of the That's why we're doing this. And I also, the step down allows kind of a natural progression down, but we're stopping well short of being near the river edge and within the
Okay.
ordinary high water. Yeah.
In the Farmington River Watershed Association and the Wild Scenic status has no regulatory control, no regulatory jurisdiction, correct?
Correct, unless there's a permit required, which with Deep or Army Corps, and there's not.
Okay, super. So I do not have any other questions. So based on the conversation, it would be appropriate to have a motion if we all agree that it is an exempt activity under the regulation provision 4A1. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Thank you, Andre. Is there a second?
Dave will second.
Thanks, Dave. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Great, thank you,
and be-
everyone. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Shannon. And I'm going to sort of break the order. And this is a public meeting, so anyone from the public is welcome to attend. But I see we have someone who's not on the commission and not part of the town staff. Is there, because we don't have any public communication.
No.
Jesse, do you have a question for the commission? You're welcome to monitor what we do.
She's actually town staff.
Yeah.
She
yeah,
is
sorry.
town
Oh.
staff.
Yeah.
Just
Sorry,
next
I
talking to her.
apologize.
Yeah, she's brand new, so it's okay.
She's gonna introduce herself. So.
Okay, I thought we had someone from the public and I didn't want to run the entire meeting and then, slight
No,
anyone from the
you're-
public by
problem.
not having a public communication.
Oh, that's perfect.
So, well, do we want to do that? Well, I guess we'll finish the agenda items. So we'll move on to the town item number 3, Westwoods Drive.
Yeah, so Jesse's gonna present that. This is her project.
No,
that,
so it's actually
Yeah.
you timed it perfectly. So good evening. My name's Jessie Catano. I'm the new recreation director for Farmington. I just joined the team about 3 weeks ago, so all new. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak today. I'm here to present a proposal to remove the aging wood deck or porch that is attached to the Westwoods Clubhouse and replace it with a stamped concrete patio. This project offers several public benefits. The first is the existing deck is deteriorating and posing some safety risks and requires ongoing maintenance. Removing it and installing a durable, low maintenance stamped concrete patio would enhance the safety, the longevity, and the aesthetics while reducing the long-term upkeep costs. Additionally, the new patio will improve ADA accessibility. Unlike the elevated deck, which has a step up, the patio would be a level surface, stable, ensuring that all visitors, including those with mobility challenges, can fully enjoy the space. And this upgrade aligns with our commitment to making the public facilities more inclusive and welcoming. We appreciate your consideration of this improvement, and we look forward to providing a safer, more accessible space. And I'm going to turn it over to Justin to talk a little bit more about the engineering part of this project.
All right. So hi again. I'm Justin Stone, civil engineer for the town. What you're seeing on your screen right now is just a sketch that I sort of made up. I sort of put together based on what it was that Jessie wanted and her staff to propose a new concrete deck to go out and replace this this aging wooden deck. Like she said, the deck right now has a raised elevation. It's probably about like 5-6 inches above grade. The new concrete deck will be right at grade, and they're going to push that elevation out towards where the edge of the deck is. So it's expanding the size of what is now the deck to a concrete patio. But the actual elevation change isn't necessarily there. It'll be level with the ground. It'll increase the size of it. Like you said, it'll increase the ADA accessibility for it. It'll be at grade, so it'll be safe for everybody to walk around. We also are proposing a couple of roof drains. These are just some probable locations that I put roof drains on. Can you hand me the
I got it. I got you.
Oh, okay. So we have a couple areas for roof drains. These would just daylight and infiltrate into the soil. The roof isn't very large. You're not getting a lot of water coming from it, but it will keep water from kind of pouring onto the concrete pad and eroding it over time to protect that pad. And that is pretty much about it. That they will have to dig down to get the pad in, but like I said, the actual grade change won't really be there. The only fill you might have is like feathering some grading along the sides of it to sort of blend it out. And you're talking about inches and not feet at that point. So if the commission
Justin,
has any
yeah, Justin,
questions.
can you touch on, whether it's in a wetland area or the regulated area? What's the area of impact?
So there's actually I don't know if you can pull up. There's a swale or a brook back here. And it's relatively close to it. Things the roof drains will kind of drain in that direction. So that's why we're bringing it before you guys. I think was there a wetland study done at some point, but it really just sort of outlined the brook as being the source of the wetlands.
There's a bit of the brook and outside of it. That's what they're seeing here.
Yeah,
more
yeah,
or
yeah.
less. So, I mean, you look at this, and that's what I think I put that in the report. You know, roughly from here to the back of the building is 169 feet.
Correct, yeah.
So with that extension, you'll be crossing into that upland review area, possibly.
Okay, thanks for the clarification. I'll go around and check with Jesse and Justin. Thanks for the presentation.
Thank you.
Rich, any questions or comments?
No, it seems like the patio is almost out of the upland review area. So yeah, I don't have any questions or concerns with this.
Dave, any questions or comments?
No, I have no concerns either.
Neil, questions or comments?
No, I think the roof drains go into the upland review area. But I don't have any concerns or questions. Other than as a golfer, I'm opposed to putting any more water in those creeks. So.
All right. Mark, questions or comments?
No, looks fine. Looks like you're expanding a little bit. So is there plans to have more food service to be able to, this to accommodate more food for the golfers, or is there a change there?
Yeah.
heard-
we have.
I heard there was something going on.
Yeah, so we signed a contract with Carol's Lunchbox, who used to be over on Route 4. So she'll be offering services from 11 to 8, and we're hoping with her clientele coming in as well as the golfers, and then the anticipated clientele from when the splash pad and pickleball courts go in, that expanded seating would benefit her business economically as well, and create a more enjoyable space for people to stay longer.
Heard about that last week. So seeing this whole plan, I figured it was all tied together. So I have no questions or any problems with it. Wish you luck.
Thank you.
Andre, questions or comments?
I have no questions or comments at this time.
And I'm Neil, did I ask you?
Yes, you did.
Yep.
And
Okay, sorry, I didn't. I just didn't put my little check mark. Thanks.
Yep. Okay.
I don't have any questions or concerns. It does seem like it's on the outer edge for the patio, but the outlet is going to be also in the regulated area. So I do think we need to accept the application and then, hear it again in 2 weeks for consideration. I guess we'd also have to determine significance tonight. So we'll start with a motion to accept.
So moved, Mark.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second on the motion, please. Thanks, Rich. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Based on our comments, it would appear we would be leaning towards a non-regulated activity, and I also don't see a need to do a site walk, but if anyone differs, they can I'll open it up to all rather than going around. Any reason to do a site walk? Okay, then a motion as a non-significant regular activity would be appropriate. Is there such a motion?
So moved by Dave.
Thank you, Dave. Is there a second? I'm sorry,
Second.
talked over. Was it? All right. So Dave made the motion, Neil made the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. All right, thanks to all the town staff for the presentations.
All right, thank you
We'll
guys very
move on-
much.
We'll see you in 2 weeks. We'll move on to the planners report. Bruce,
I don't have anything at this time.
other than we're all, saddened by the retirement. We're happy for Sandy, but saddened by her loss and more
Yeah.
welcoming Lance, but it's a big change.
Yes. It was a tough day, so
But Lance is up for the challenge here.
yes, he
I
is.
am.
He's ready to go. So,
Okay, so we'll move on to approval of the minutes for the February 19th meeting. There a motion? Motion to approve.
This is Rich. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Dave will second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So we will adjourn the wetland meeting at 7:37 and concurrently or simultaneously open the Conservation Commission meeting at 7:37. And Bruce, unless there was something that was added, it looks like we just have nothing under planners report, correct?
planners board, just the minutes.
Okay, so I will accept the motion to approve the minutes for the Conservation Commission for February 19th, 2025.
Rich, I'll make that motion.
Thanks, Rich. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And we will adjourn the 1-minute meeting at 7:37.